Steve, thanks for joining us and for your time. We know you're not feeling very well today, so thanks for joining us. Another stalemate, obviously same as another 0-0 today, and our luck to finish the season at home, 0-0 against Walton. Just one of those games where the ball just wouldn't go in.
No, and I thought as a 0-0, I thought it was a really good game. To be fair, I thought both sides had a proper go. It could have been one of them games that, I guess on paper, it's one of them that everyone says, oh, there's nothing to play for. It could have been an awful, boring 0-0, but I thought it was a really, really good game. In regards to how we were, I thought we were fantastic. I think if you based it on chances, and I'm not one of those managers to say, oh, we could have done this and we could have done that, but I think when you watch that back on the highlights, we probably missed at least 4 or 5 one-on-ones. We've had 3, 4, 5, 6 good shots. Their keeper was probably man of the match. And having said that, they probably missed the easiest chance of the lot with 5 minutes to go, and if that had gone in, that would have probably summed us up. Coley's one, it's a good move, it's a great ball across. It's one that if he probably miskicks it, it probably goes in. He's got a great strike on it, but unfortunately he's put it about 8 foot wide of the goal. He's almost kicked it back where it's come from. It's one of them things that happen sometimes. Antonio, I felt first half he got in good positions, but he'd taken his shots too early. So we said to him at half time, if you get an opportunity, drive further into the box. He did that, and we thought he was going to score, and I think he went too close to the goalie, and then he's cut back for George. It didn't give George an opportunity. If he cuts it back properly, George slips it in and we score. But he didn't, and we didn't score. But as I said, we had so many other chances on top of that as well, and I thought we should have had a penalty. George Moore went through with about 20 to go. Great save, but after his shot, he was brought down. It was a penalty.
Yeah, certainly it was.
But well, I won't go too much into the referee.
You've brought me on to the next question. I think both benches today, I think, were, especially first half, I think to be diplomatic, improved in the second, but I think both benches were scratching their heads at some of the inconsistent decisions. You know, I think there was a lot of stop-start, literally, every little kind of touch, someone went over, the whistle went, there was a lot of stop-starting. I think both benches got equally frustrated with some of it.
And I think that's what frustrates you, is inconsistency. He didn't make like an absolute howler of a decision, which cost anyone a game. But first half, he probably gave them about 6 or 7 fouls, which may well have been fouls. But then when you see 6 or 7 challenges on the other side that are exactly the same, he doesn't give them. That's where your frustration comes. So either give them all or don't give any. Me personally, I prefer a referee that lets it flow a little bit more, because that was probably the only thing that spoiled the game a little bit. Certainly first half, it was stop-start all the time, and I had a polite word with him coming off at half-time, because there's no point in going over and ranting and raving, because they'll probably get worse. And just asked him to maybe be a little bit more consistent with his decisions. And he was more consistent second half. He was consistently bad. But equally at times for both teams. But what they're very, very good at, and I'm not knocking them for this, they foul very well off the ball. They know how to break play out. They've got experienced players. But you expect officials to pick up on some of that. Yeah, obviously they saw some of them because they're blatantly obvious. But when you've spoken to a linesman or a referee and said, this is happening every single time off the ball, and they say okay, and then it happens another 5 times. Listen, I'm not owning at Walton. That's good play. I ain't got a problem with that, but they need to deal with it. But they've come here today and done what they've had to do. And I think I was probably surprised with how we set up and how we played a little bit different today, because I think they thought that we would probably play more from the back and they'd probably press us high like they did at our place, and that's how they won the game at our place. And but listen, at the end, I've got no problem with them. You've got to do what you've got to do to get something out of a game. And there was probably 3 or 4 occasions where we were in great positions to go through, and their defenders did probably what I'd like us to do a little bit more. And that's the dark arts, and I'm never going to knock that, because if that gets you results and stops teams scoring, you've got to do what you've got to do.
I've kind of touched upon some of the decisions and refereeing already, but I mean, it was by no means a dirty game, although I think Walton ended up picking up. There were some cynical fouls in the end. I think they picked up 4 or 5 bookings, but to focus on their player, one of their midfielders got a second yellow card after he was subbed. Strange incident, walking down the touchline, cut across the pitch, to go off to the tunnel and got his second yellow. Very strange incident.
Yeah, I must admit, in all my years of football, it's not something I've seen. My only gripe with that, I mean, I don't blame Walton for taking him off because I'd have done exactly the same. He was going to get himself sent off anyway. My only gripe with that was, obviously there was a little bit of handbags and he got himself booked. Then, within a couple of seconds, he did exactly the same thing in front of the linesman. I know the referee didn't see it because he wasn't looking. The linesman saw it, didn't flag, gave them the opportunity to take him off. So then, obviously, the sub comes on, they stay with 11, and then obviously his head's gone, which these things happen sometimes, and he's then got himself sent off. But he should have been sent off before that. But listen, it is what I'm not going to say that affected the result. Who knows? We beat 10 men before, we lost to 10 men before, so sometimes they go for you. But if the linesman on the other side does his proper job, he would have called the ref over and he would have been sent off. But at the end of the day, he didn't, so you have to get on with it.
Away from the obviously frustrations as we spoke about of the result and the game itself, just to finish on a quick word for Mark Charles Smith. Obviously, started today. It was his last home game for the club. Obviously, there was, again, people see on the highlights the ovation that he got from obviously the crowd and the players, guard of honour as he came off. Just a quick word on Mark and what he's done for the club.
Yeah, I mean, I can't speak highly enough of him. Mark was here when I first joined. He left briefly because of work, and then re-signed for us, I think, probably about a year, 18 months later. So he's obviously played for me on and off probably for about 5 years. I couldn't speak highly enough of him. As a footballer, he's been great. Obviously, he's not figured that much this year, but he's getting to an age where you're not going to be able to play that often anyway. But he's played a few games for the 23s. Off the pitch, top bloke, fantastic with the young boys, brilliant in the changing room. Whether he plays, whether he starts, whether he doesn't get on, never complains, just gets on with it. He's the ultimate professional playing in semi-professional football. But I'll tell you what, he played well today. I've just offered him a new deal, which he turned down within about 3 seconds. But he gave us something today, and it gives me something to think about in the summer, that we have been looking for another forward this year that does give us a different option, because we all know what Hughie's about, and he's been brilliant this year, scored loads of goals. Antonio's come in, he's still very young, getting used to the level, but he's done well. We've got a couple of others from the 23s obviously now that we're trying to look at. Leandro come in today, but Mark showed us today exactly what he can do at the age he's at now, but he's done that for years, and he's probably one of the best hold-up players that I've certainly had, and to still go. And I was so pleased that he played well today, because we were always going to start him today, regardless of what was going on in the league, because he deserved that today. He's been he's probably been the best servant to the club since I've been in, because of all the reasons I've just said. But to start and play the way he played was brilliant. You saw the ovation he got when he came off, and you saw what the players saw when he comes off. He's probably the most popular and most respected player in the changing room. Very calm head, but he can look after himself as well. So when he needs to put his foot down, and there he can do. And I've already spoke to him about doing something with the club next year. I don't think he's going to be short of offers anyway. I don't think he'll play anymore. He told me at the start of the year that he didn't want to play anymore, and he just told me walking off he never wants to play again. I think he's going to bed till about August, but I'd love to keep him here in some sort of coaching capacity, whether that's with the 23s, whether that's with the first team, because I think he's got so much knowledge to give, so much knowledge to pass on. And even over the last few weeks, he's been in the squad every week. He's not really got on much, but just standing with him on the side and listening to a younger voice sometimes, because obviously there's me, Jess and Wilkes and Piercy on the side. Obviously we're a little bit older than him, and sometimes you see something different, but it's quite good sometimes to have someone that's just finishing playing that can maybe see things a little bit different from a player's point of view that maybe we can. And just a few things we spoke about lately, his insight as to being a forward and certain things he sees in the game. It would be a travesty for him not to be involved. So hopefully for the summer that we can sort something out, but I don't think he's going to be short of offers anyway, and hopefully he'll stay here. But if he doesn't and he gets another opportunity, we would wish him all the best anyway.
One more game left next week, Western-super-Mare.
Last game of the season is always a strange one. We're going to Western that will need to probably win or draw to get in the playoffs. And a lot of pressures on them. Listen, they're a very, very good side. There'll be a massive crowd there. We'll go there with no pressure at all. But I tell you what, we won't do. We won't go there and just think, yeah, we're going to turn up, have a kick about, and see how things go. I think it was our first year in the Southern. We went to Salisbury on the last game of the season. They had to win to get a home draw in the playoff, and we beat them 6-0. So that's not, for me, 1 minute saying we're going to Western Superman winning 6-0, in case they're listening. But we'll go there and we will put exactly the same shift that we put in today. And listen, football's funny. You just never know what's going to happen on the day. Pressure's a funny thing, whether it's pressure at the top, whether it's pressure at the bottom. Listen, they're favourites to win and they probably should win, but we'll go there with a plan. We'll go there and we'll give everything we got, and who knows on the day how that will turn out. But the final thing I'd just like to add to that, obviously, hopefully we can have a chat next week after the game anyway, but as it was the final home game today, I would just like to thank all the supporters. Support's been brilliant this year. I know over the last, to be fair, lately performances have improved, results have improved. I know we've had probably more draws than we would have wanted. We've gone from never drawing a game to all of a sudden I think we've drawn 5 in about the last 7 or 8, but performances in general have been good. Obviously we had a blip after the Portsmouth game, took a little while to recover, lost a few players, but I think if someone had said to me at the start of the season, you'll finish hopefully maybe 14th, 13th, 12th, but you'll get through to the first round of the FA Cup to Portsmouth, we'd have all taken that. But the supporters have played a big part in that. I've never heard one negative thing this year. Well, I haven't heard it. There might have been a few, and it does make a big difference. I know we don't get huge crowds, but even if you lose and you're not playing well, we've got a good group here that you don't hear people slagging you off or knocking players and things like that. And that's important because ultimately we're all in it together. We all want the same thing. No one plays badly on purpose. No one loses on purpose. But I'd like to think if you asked every supporter, are they happy in general with what we've done this year? I'd like to think that they would say yeah. But like I say, support's been great this year. Hopefully we can take a few down there next week and finish off with a good send-off, and then we start planning. I think I'll get a day off next Sunday, and then we start planning again for next season.
Steve, thank you very much for your time, not just today, throughout the season. Rest up and hope you feel better, a little bit better, and get your voice back for next week.
That's brilliant.
Thanks very much.
Thanks very much. Cheers.